and welcome to Untamed Tutorials, Lesson 1, Designing with Type. In this lesson, we're going to talk about Inkscape, why I use Inkscape, the importance of keyboard shortcuts, how to navigate within Inkscape, creating basic shapes, transforming basics, zooming, panning, and preset views. So let's talk a little bit about Inkscape and why I use Inkscape. I learned graphic design using a program called Adobe Illustrator. You've probably heard of it. And the reason why I don't use Illustrator for these tutorials is it carries a heavy price tag and it's not available to, well, most people. Inkscape is free. It's cross-platform and it's available to everyone. Also, Inkscape is very powerful and it can export file formats to pretty much anything you will need. So whether you're using a silhouette, a cricket, or doing dye sublimation, you'll probably find a file format that suits your needs. Keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts are what elevate you from a novice to an advanced or experienced user of any software. And I strongly believe in them. In fact, I believe in them so much that I teach them at the introductory level. I find it's a lot easier to learn shortcuts as you go along rather than to learn the software and then come back and learn the shortcuts. So I will be teaching you keyboard shortcuts as we go. If there are only going to be one set of keyboard shortcuts that you learn, I highly recommend it be the navigation shortcuts because you'll use those the most. So that's what we'll be learning. Now, if you look at the link down below, you'll see that there is one to a PDF that is a set of keyboard shortcuts. Let's take a look at those now. So here I've created for you a set of keyboard shortcuts. This list is going to get longer as the course progresses. So with each course, if there are new shortcuts, I will upload a new PDF for you. You'll see that there are 4 columns here, really only 2 that are in use at this particular stage. The first column is the shortcut key that will activate the action, and then the second column is the action, what will happen if you press that particular key. And the first section here, navigation, those are going to be the ones that we will be using and learning today. All right, so now let's get started with Inkscape. Let's take a look at using basic shapes, shall we? But first, actually, I'd like to give you a quick intro to the interface. Across the top here, you have your menu bar. Under that, you have a row of presets or shortcut buttons there. Right below, you have the properties bar. The properties bar is going to change depending upon which tool that you have selected over here on the left-hand side. And let me just do something really quick here. All right, now over on the right-hand side, let me close that because yours probably doesn't have that yet. One of the things about Inkscape is it remembers the last thing you did in the last drawing. I find that annoying. I haven't found a way to turn that off. Just as soon as I do, you can bet I'm going to share it with you. What I've tried to do here is put my version of Inkscape back to how the closest to how I remember it being when I first installed it. So there might be a few little things that are different because I've customized it to best suit my needs, and there will definitely be a lesson on that to creating your own Inkscape environment. Over here on the right hand side, there are a series of icons, and those are about snapping. And I don't mean like, oh snap, I mean like snapping to the guides or snapping to the edges or objects snapping to one another. And that's something I don't really care for. So I'm going to turn that off by clicking this top button here, and that'll turn all of that off for you. Over on the left-hand side, you have a toolbar. And the toolbar is where tools hang out after work. Screwdriver is a popular drink down at the toolbar. Yeah. Okay, so down below we have our palette. And you can just scroll through the palette there. There's a scroll bar underneath it, or using the scroll wheel on your mouse. If your mouse doesn't have a scroll wheel, I really recommend going out and getting one of those. Now, let's get on with drawing basic shapes. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you have your toolbar. Let's grab a circle, because that's the easiest one to use, and then we'll come over here onto our page. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button, click and drag down and to my right, because I'm right-handed, and that's going to draw a circle or an ellipse for us, depending upon how perfectly that circle is. It's either a circle or an ellipse. But if I want a perfect circle, I'm going to press the delete key to get rid of that. If I'd like the circle to be perfect, I'm going to hold down the control key, and that will constrain my proportions to be a circle. All right? Good. Now, let's take a look at that rectangle tool up there, the square tool, and do the same thing. Hold down the left mouse button, drag down and to the right, and now I have myself a rectangle. If I want a square, I'm going to, you've got it, hold down that control key, and now my proportions are constrained to a perfect square. Now, if only I could find a tool that would constrain my proportions to my pants, that would be great. But we're waiting for that one. Okay, now I've got a circle, I've got a square. Now we can begin learning to transform objects. With the arrow tool, bing, shortcut number 1, how to get to the arrow tool. Pressing the F1 key at any point will give you the arrow tool, also known as the selector. So now that we have the selector, because we pressed the F1 key, we can come over here to our square, which has lit up with little transformer nodes. These transformation nodes allow me to, you guessed it, transform an object. So if I come down here to the lower left-hand corner and hover over that arrow there, it turns a green, it gets highlighted. That lets me know it's activated. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button, click and drag, and now look at that. I am scaling that object. Isn't that a lot of fun? Now if I click again, now those little arrows have deformed into little rounded arrows. If I hover over the transformer node, it turns green, it gets highlighted. Hold down my left mouse button and push the mouse away from me, it rotates upward. Pull the mouse towards me and it rotates downward. Isn't that fun? But wait, there's more. Now, unlike in the scaling transformation mode, these little icons are not going to rotate left or right, because that would be impossible. These are going to skew the object. Let's go to the top middle transformer node, hover over the top until it turns green, hold down that left mouse button and drag left or right, and look at that. Isn't that a lot of fun? Now we have a squishy wrangle. That is the official term for that shape, is squishy wrangle. Now that we have that, let's deselect. Okay, a common way for novice users of any graphic software to deselect something is to click off to the side and make it deselect. The problem with that, though, is in more complex drawings, you run the risk of selecting something else. So instead of doing that, let's press the escape key. Pressing the escape key twice will be sure that all objects on the screen or on the page or in the drawing, what have you, will be deselected. Okay, on to navigation. The first navigational method I'd like you to learn is how to zoom. The most obvious way to zoom is using the zoom tool. I personally am not a fan of the zoom tool, and I'm going to show you why now. Click on that zoom tool. It's the magnifying glass looking object over here. Come over to our page. If I left click, it zooms in. If I right click, it zooms out. Now, in this particular case, it's behaving itself for me. You might find that you are getting the context menu, that little menu you normally get when you right click. I don't know if it's a bug in the software. I don't know if it's a bug in my hand, but I just know that it doesn't always work for me. So rather than using that, and it's another thing is you have to go grab a different tool each time. Let's make it easier on ourselves. Press that F1 key to get your arrow tool. Now at any point I want to zoom, I just hold down the control key, point at what I want to look at, and push the scroll wheel on my mouse away from me. If I don't know why I need to lean in when I do that, but I always do. And then if I want to zoom back out, with the control key held down, I'm going to pull the scroll wheel away from me, and then out I go. So in and out, in and out, and there you go. It's a load of fun. Do that a lot of times right after lunch, and you could go home from work sick. Try that sometime. Okay, now let's say we're zoomed in. Okay, and here we are, we've done whatever we needed to do, and now I need to move to a different place in the document, or maybe I didn't get zoomed right in where I wanted to be. Oh gosh, well, instead of using these scroll bars on the sides of your screen, scroll bars are for word processors. We don't use scroll bars in graphics programs. Hold down the space bar, if you will, and look at that. No need to hold, look, Ma, no hands. No need to hold down any buttons on the mouse. Just drag the mouse around and look at it go. Okay? So I'm actually panning on the screen in the view. I'm not moving the object. And if you look at those scroll bars as I do this, you'll see that they are moving about because I am indeed scrolling. Okay? So we're all zoomed in, and we're ready to zoom back out. Now, I could hold down my control button and pull on the scroll wheel and zoom all the way out, but that's not what I'm going to do. Inkscape has preset views built in, and next time I'll make a video, I'll remember to mute my phone. Inkscape has preset views built in. So let's take a look at those. Press the 1 key on your keyboard, and that is going to take you out to a 1-to-1 ratio. Now press the 2 key on your keyboard, and that's going to take you to a 2-to-2 ratio. Press the 3 key on your keyboard and nothing's going to happen. Well, why? Because you need to have an object selected. So let's select an object, any object you want, if you're following along at home. Now if I press the 3 key, that's going to cause that object to zoom and fill the screen. So number 3 is zoom to selection. If I press the F4 key, that causes the Inkscape to zoom to the drawing. And the drawing consists of all elements on the page. Okay? So let's say you have a large page, maybe you're working on a 12 by 12 or a 12 by 24 document, and but you've only got a few objects in the center of that document, then it would cause just those objects to fill the screen. All right, now going right on down the number scheme here, let's press the 5 key. The 5 key is page view, and if you're like me, I find that I use 3 and 5 most often. I zoom into what I'm working on, and then I zoom back out to see what I've done, see the results. One more. This is a bonus shortcut. I don't believe it's on the PDF, and that is number 6. Number 6 is going to zoom to page width or document width. You'll see on the edges here, here, and here that that's the edges of my document. Pressing the 5 key again is going to take me out to view the entire page. I hope you've enjoyed Lesson 1, Navigating in Inkscape. So now, give it a shot. Try it. Zoom around. Navigate. Have a good time. I'll see you next time.